So I guess the question a lot of fans would probably have is why now? Why now out of all the seasons? Why now has the creative staff at MLP FIM decided basically in the last 2 seasons to bring back Sparity, aka Spike and Rarity? That is a good question, and it's one I wish I could answer. Although I've done a lot of videos recently explaining why it's going to probably happen, and why and who may have come up with the idea. But I think it also has to do with a lot of stuff that's happening in this last season. I mean, we're seeing things that we were expecting to see, we were hoping to see continued, and we're getting that here. For example, we're getting another mishmash team up of, I guess you can call them the Misfits 6, with a co-starring role by Silverstream out of the Student 6. And when I'm talking Misfits 6, I'm talking Starlight, Trixie, Sunburst, Maud, Mudbriar, and I guess Terramon, if you will. I gotta think again of who it is, who else is in there. But we're just getting we're getting a team up of basically the Misfits, if you will. Like 4 out of them are the Misfit 4, which is Sunburst, Starlight, Maud, and Trixie. And then you add in Terramon and Mudbriar, and it's just one of those situations to where you're seeing a return to that. You're seeing more of that, which you want to see, because a lot of people consider sometimes these team-ups to be funny. And then, on top of that, we're finding out things that we've been wanting to know. Like, this upcoming week, or 2 weeks, a week from this Saturday, we're going to have The Last Crusade, which is the official on-air debut of not just Scootaloo's parents, but of her aunts, the ones that were depicted in the Ponyville Mysteries as the legitimate LGBTQ couple. And kind of funny that we're getting their debut during what's known as Pride Month. No offense in that. But the reason I bring this all up is all this is happening in the last season or so. I mean, heck, we got Between Dark and Dawn, which is another Princess Celestia, Princess Luna centered episode, with a few things split here and there, with the main 7 trying to take over for the princesses and their royal duties while the princesses are on vacation. There's finally a moment in there where we're going to probably get, a legit reasoning or legit understanding of a lot of pent-up frustration coming out of the sisters. We're seeing a side to the sisters we've never seen in a while, especially Celestia. So we're getting all that, coupled with what we've already gotten. And again, the question gets asked, why? And I think the reason being is it's the last season, and you're going to get a lot of moments that we've been wanting, a lot of questions finally getting some answers, a lot of arcs finally being resolved, and on top of that, you're probably going to get maybe some romances, some potential romances and ships finally focused on or given closure to. And that's what we look at with Spike and Sparity. I mean, when you go back and look at season 8, and even someone like Map Miss Anthropony, is wondering, why all of a sudden are we focusing on Sparity again? Why are we bringing this up again? Not just with break up, breakdown, but meltdown and most importantly, best gift ever. Why are we going this route again? Why are we doing this? And I think the obvious answer is in this season. I mean, you got a moment right at the beginning, about 25 seconds in, from what I was able to tell just by some of the sneak peeks, around the 14 second to 25 second mark, you get a Sparity moment. I mean, basically Spike gets caught up along with this tree that's being dragged or being pulled by this giant tortoise who is eating everything in sight. It pulls at this tree, and Spike gets caught along with the ride for the ride. And what does Rarity do? All the rest of the main 7, basically the main 6, are standing in a group there, flood Rainbow Dash kind of flying above, and Rarity's on this end, and she literally runs out. She's never done that before. She literally runs out, concerned for Spike. She literally runs out, concerned for Spike. And just got to fix up here for a second. But literally, she runs out because she's concerned. She's concerned for Spike. Like more so than I think some people would say she's ever been, which is true. Because any other time she's been concerned, and I've mentioned this, she's never really done something like that. So this is a first. And when I saw her doing that, that to me reminded me, mind you, of someone that's in love with someone else doing that. That reminded me of of another female doing that for a guy. In movies, in comics, and in other animated shows and motion pictures, live action shows and motion pictures. That's the only time I've ever seen that kind of stuff. And usually that's done by somebody that loves another, truly loves another. And to me, if that's the case, it's a good callback and connection to basically Best Gift Ever, when Spike sang his portion of True Gift of Giving, which all in all, guys, was nothing more, and I've said this before, but a love song / romantic ballad, if you will, a love song / romantic ballad, to basically express to Rarity that you mean more to me than just as a friend, that your friendship means more to me than just a regular friendship, that you are something special to me. I mean, you want visual evidence. Rarity literally has stars in her eyes, a la Lady in Lady and the Tramp from Disney. And everybody knows, if you go back and watch Lady and the Tramp, in that moment, that is basically a moment where after they accidentally kissed and everything, basically the love and attraction became real. They both fell in love, mostly Lady. Lady fell in love. She's got that special feeling, and that's what you had with that moment with Rarity. So the biggest question now is, why of all these seasons? Why now in the final season, in this final season, as well as last season? Why now? And I think because it is the last, it is or was the last 2 seasons. We're actually in the last season now. I think it's because we're in that time frame where the series is coming to an end, where pretty much Nicole Dubuque, Josh Haber, Stephen Davis, Big Jim Miller, Biggest Jim Miller, and several others, Gail Simone, the Lady Writers, you name it, they're coming to a realization that, arcs like this, story arc, character arcs, shipping arcs, romantic arcs, if you will, they need to be answered. They need to be resolved. They need to be given closure. And I think a lot of them probably do agree that this has been going on since the beginning. And this is somewhat the most legitimate, if not most real kind of romance, if not organic kind of romance, organically grown kind of romance that they have seen. And I think they know, by looking at other properties in the past that have gone down this route, that usually the characters go through different obstacles before finally finding each other, coming together with each other. Again, biggest example I've ever given was Family Matters. We all know that in the beginning, Laura Winslow was not fond of Steve Urkel, but over time she warmed up to him, they became friends, and then by the end, what happened? They got together, and thus they also got engaged and thus got married. In fact, if there was a true last season planned, which they said there was, it would have focused on them being married, or getting married. So, I'm not saying that don't do that with My Little Pony, but I'm just saying it seems like that's exactly the same kind of route that Nicole Dubuque and the rest of the creative staff want to go when it comes to Spike and Rarity. And I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that, and so is everybody else. So I think the biggest, and I think too the biggest examples as to why they're going this route, if not the three biggest examples, are you go back to season 7, and they're taking Big Mac, a secondary character who played a tremendous role, who played a great role in this past weekend's episode, and they put him with Sugar Bella, another secondary, third tier, now secondary character that we got introduced to in the Cutie Mark and the Cutie Remark. So we got introduced to her, and they decided let's put those two together. And then, on top of that, last season they decided to take another popular secondary character in Maud Pie and give her Mud Briar. So it's like you're taking these two secondary characters, saying, hey, let's give them romantic love interest and see what happens. And I believe it was a testing ground to say, you know what, maybe we could do this with the main cast. And lo and behold, look what they're doing. Look what they're doing. They're putting focus, in a sense, back on Spike and Rarity. And if that's not a good enough example, even this season, recently as of several episodes ago, they're teasing a ship between Sandbar and Yona. Who would have expected that, right? The point is, I look at the fact that this being the last season, and the fact that they've gone they're basically trying to go that very organic, realistic kind of route with this relationship, kind of have it naturally build to its moment where they'll officially be together. I could see it happening. I could see that actually happening. When does it happen in the season? We don't know. Will it happen at the end of the season? At the end of the season, we don't know. Isaac of Watso Videos, that's WOTSO Videos, he basically said in a video he did, and I did a response to this, that when they decided to finally put Phineas and Isabel together, they had moments here and there, and there would always be, and even though they had the moments, there would always be something that came up that kind of, put those moments, aside or nullified those moments. It wasn't until they were basically grown up out of high school that Phineas realized, oh crap, Isabel has had the hots for me. I kind of felt the same way about her. I just never knew it until now. Because Isabel was going to go to college, so what does he do? He goes after her and finds out she still carries the torch for him, and the rest is history. The point is, if they go that route, maybe not, they're getting older and all that, but if they go that route, to where they wait to the end, and maybe we get some kind of moment in the end of this happening with Spike and Rarity, them finally officially being together or getting together, it'll be worth the wait, I think. How they get to that moment is unknown to us right now. But yeah, to me, I think because this is the last season, and this is one of the more natural, progressing, organic romantic relationships to be built upon in this series, and the fact that it reminds me of other relationships between a male and a female character going down that route, I could totally understand why this would be the season that now, this season along with last season, as well as the 8.5 episode, holiday episode, the 8.5 holiday episode, Best Gift Ever, why now would be the perfect time to finally bring this to light and make it happen, make it official. So yeah, this is going to be a lot of moments in here. So yeah, I think what some people have said about Spike and Rarity having moments, like, they had that hug in the cavern of Celestia's castle when they met up there, when they met up there along with Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy. There's a moment there. Like I said, you got what's coming up in between Dark and Dawn, and then who knows what else in the second half. Maybe something will come up in Rainbow Road Trip. We don't know. Maybe we'll see something a little bit more in between Dark and Dawn. We don't know. But I think it's because, like I said, and I know I'm repeating myself here, I think it's because it is the last season that's the reason why we're getting the moments that we're getting between these two. And why now the relationship is being focused on and maybe going to be given some closure, and possibly the closure fans are hoping for, because it's something they've been hoping for since the beginning, in a sense, if you will. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I think the reason why now they're doing it, the reason they're doing it now is, it's the last season, and I think honestly Nicole Dubuque, in my opinion, is a fan of that underdog story. Of that story of where here's a guy, in, let's say, Spike's case, that has a thing for one of the sweetest girls, if not one of the more popular girls, hottest girls, if most attractive girls, in the city, in the land, in the high school, and yet there are others around him that think he would never have a chance, and yet that attractive, popular girl, that sweet girl, befriends him and starts kind of developing a little bit of an attraction towards him as well, but mostly still on that level of, hey, we're just friends kind of deal. But as time goes on, it starts to grow, and both characters start to grow themselves to where one of them finally has the courage, even in their own unique way, of saying, look, this is how I really feel about you. And that's what Spike did in Best Gift Ever. It's kind of the Max Roxanne kind of vibe, if you know what I mean, from Goofy Movie. Maybe not in a sense, maybe, somewhat in that sense where, you would think here's a guy like Max, he doesn't have no chance with someone like Roxanne, but he goes all out to try to impress her and kind of say, look, this is how I feel about you. And yet it's Roxanne that says, hey, look, I liked you the way you were anyway. So, to me, I think honestly it's a combination of both that natural growth of a relationship between the two, combined with something like with what you see at the end of a Goofy Movie, with Roxanne telling someone like Max, hey, I've already liked you, Max, for who you were. And also a combination of, Max going out of his way and trying to impress her. But not from the heart, which was the lesson of that movie. Or part of the lesson of that movie. But you kind of get that with Spike, where he basically from the heart with the song kind of expresses to Rarity how he really feels about her. I mean, believe it or not, it went from him admitting he has a crush on her, which she kind of acknowledges she's already known, to him to go into that in Best Gift Ever, that's growth. That's character growth and development, and that's a natural build. And like I said, I think Nicole Dubuque, I should say, is a fan of that kind of storytelling. And I think several of them there are fans of that kind of storytelling. And I think that's why, I believe that's why, in my opinion, why we're getting something between the two finally acknowledged and focused on in some way in not just last season, but in this season as well. And again, we don't know what's going to be upcoming in the second half, what we'll get in the Rainbow Road Trip, if we'll get anything else in between Dark and Dawn. All I know is there is a moment coming between the two where at least it's going to somewhat acknowledge, if not somewhat officialize, that these two are now more than just friends. And I can't wait for it, honestly. I really can't. Now, will everybody agree with it? No. I don't think everybody will agree with it. I think Map will be someone that's kind of on the fence about it. I think Voice of Reason will be someone on the fence about it. KP, and by the way, happy birthday to I love Kim Possible a lot, and Lightning Bliss. I think her, Lightning Bliss, they will be on the fence about it a little bit. Sweetie Bloom, I think, will be cool with it. Thespio, Del Wilsonado, Midnight Sonata, Dr. Wolf, Silver Quill, Nikki V, everybody that has played a major part in the Rift Cafe and the Brony Pegasister analysis community, I think they will all be on the fence about this when it happens. But I think the overall majority will be, at least, I think the overall consensus and majority agreement will be that at least it's finally, resolved and it's given proper conclusion. It may not be the way that some want it to be, but hey, at least it's got a proper ending and conclusion, and that's all that matters. So that's all I'm going to really say on it, guys. But I think, honestly, and I know it sounded like I went all over the place here, but the main thing I was getting at is I think because these are the last two seasons, mostly this being the last season, that is why we're finally seeing a natural, I guess you could say, growth and development, a natural organic and growth, and if not resolution and closure, to Spike and Sparity's relationship, and why we're getting the moments we're getting now. So that's all I can really say, guys. But let me know what you all think down below. Comment if you like. I'll talk to y'all later.